Hello everyone, and welcome to another Tuesday webinar from Dux-Soup. While we wait for everyone to join the session, let me take you through the format for today. I'm Jo Henderson, I work in the marketing team at Dux-Soup, and I'll be Giles' partner in crime for today. For our more regular attendees, hi again, and for those of you who are joining us for the first time, where have you been? We run webinars every 2 weeks. They are always focused on LinkedIn outreach and how you can get more from your lead generation activities. If you're new to LinkedIn automation or you haven't tried Dux-Soup yet, then do make use of our 2-week free trial. It's completely free and you'll have access to all of the features covered during the session. I'll add a link into the chat feature when we get going. Before I hand over to Giles, let me just remind you that you're all on mute. However, we do love receiving your questions, so please add them into the questions box on the GoTo dashboard. I always endeavour to answer as many questions as I can, but I do like to save the best ones for Giles to answer at the end, so make sure you stay tuned. The session is recorded and will be shared via email a few hours after the end of the session. But if you ever do miss out, don't forget you can always find our previous recordings on our website. For those who are already users, we love to share user reviews, and our users are a much better endorsement of our products and services than we could ever be. So for anyone sharing a review on G2 using today's date, we'll be in touch to get your details and send you a Dux-Soup cap. There we go, tongue-tied. And again, I'll put the G2 review link in the chat as we go through. Right, I think enough of me. Allow me to introduce our greatest showman and head of professional services, Giles Garnett, as he enlightens us about the secret to driving engagement and conversions using the power of LinkedIn events, LinkedIn groups, and targeted content. And he will also be covering a sneak peek at the new Dux-2. Giles, over to you.
Awesome, thank you very much, Jo, and hello, good morning and good afternoon, or indeed good evening to you wherever you may be in the world. Thank you once again for joining us in the latest of our Dux-Soup webinars. My name is Giles, Head of Professional Services here at Dux-Soup, and you heard from Jo, who's one of our marketing team. Today's webinar, oh, well, let's change the screen, shouldn't I? That might be useful. We're going to give you some ideas on how you can generate more leads from LinkedIn. This is always kind of the holy grail of prospecting and a very frequently asked question whenever I do any sort of consultation calls or booster calls or whatever. How can I get more leads? So I will be talking about some of the different ways that you can use Dux-Soup and LinkedIn to maximize your chances of successful outreach. The information in today's webinar is applicable to all Dux-Soup users. That's both Pro and Turbo subscribers. So hopefully there's something useful in there for everyone. While I'm presenting, put the questions in the question box and Jo will do what she can. And I'll answer any other questions at the end. It's being recorded, as Jo just said. I don't need to repeat that, do I? There's going to be a mix of slides and some demo today, so I'll be switching between the two here and there. This is what we're going to cover. We're going to cover a very brief intro to Dux-Soup. We're going to talk about finding leads, the different things that Jo's just mentioned there. We'll talk about some methodologies and some outreach strategies, and then we'll just talk about a few of the Dux Dash features. And hopefully there'll be a plethora of questions coming in as well as we go. So very quickly, we'll do that intro to Dux-Soup for anybody who's new to the product. What is Dux-Soup? It's a Chrome extension which helps you to automate your lead generation activities in LinkedIn. It works by mimicking human behavior on the platform and gives you the possibility to harness the power of LinkedIn by automating such actions as auto visiting profiles, sending connection requests, sending emails, and even endorsing skills. There are currently 2 paid versions of Dux-Soup, that's Pro and Turbo. And you can see all the features, pricing, and plan options for each edition via the link that you see at the bottom there. That's on our homepage. So on to today's topic, which basically essentially boils down to how you find good quality relevant leads. When you carry out a standard search in LinkedIn, the result is only as good as the information that users put in, and how LinkedIn presents that data to you, so based upon their algorithms and everything like that. Information that users put in can be reasonably static. They put in their skills, they'll put their employment history, etc., etc. But once they've done that, often there's very little change in what data is there, and this is reflected in how static some results come. Just like you see job changes and that kind of stuff. So how can we find people who have certain interests or are facing certain challenges right now? People are engaging via LinkedIn in different ways. So you could always have just said, you can look for recent job changes if you've got Sales Navigator, but are there other ways? Remember, the more effort that you put in up front with your lead generation process, the higher your chances of getting a positive result are at the end. And using LinkedIn in conjunction with Dux-Soup enables you to sort of scale up your automation and your chosen actions to your targets, whilst freeing you up to hopefully concentrate on other more valuable activities. So first up, we're going to talk about groups. LinkedIn users join groups for a reason, usually maybe to be a part of a community, to share ideas, etc. Just be aware that there are over 3 million groups on LinkedIn. Many of them are dormant, and some have been hijacked perhaps by sales teams and that kind of stuff. But if you can find the active groups, and there are many out there, they will have very active communities that provide excellent value. Now, you can use Sales Navigator to use other filter options to optimize your list. But when I did some testing on this, if I send out a connection request message to fellow group members with an appropriate message, I am able to achieve a sort of 45 to 50% acceptance rate. Once you've got your list on your screen, you can then basically run your chosen Dux-Soup activity against that list. So what we'll do is we'll just nip into LinkedIn and just show you some different ways that you look at groups. I'm going to be talking about scanning because that's my preferred action to use when I'm doing this sort of stuff. So be aware of that as well. So let's come out of here. Let's go into LinkedIn. So here we are. There's my LinkedIn homepage, and we can see here, for example, I'm a member of a number of groups. If you've got regular LinkedIn and you want to see the population of a group, you have to be a member of it. So here we go. There's a particular group here. I can see here all 20,962. This is the only way to look at a group population within regular LinkedIn. So what I would always advise here, if you're in here and you're wanting to gather information from this group, you wait for the Dux icon to turn green at the top, which it will do in a minute. Once it's turned green, then I would always recommend scanning that list. So there we go. We click on the top here, and we then press scan profiles, and then Dux-Soup will scan as many of these profiles and create a CSV file for you. This is not the best place to look at groups. The reason for that is because this is an infinite scrolling list. The further you scroll down it, the more people that load at the bottom. Just one of those quirks of LinkedIn. This is the only way to look at a group population if you are in regular LinkedIn. Now, the great news is if you've got Sales Navigator, you can look at the population of a group even if you're not a member of it. So here, for example, I've got a search result here. No, I haven't. I've got a search result here. There we go. And this one here, I've looked for this digital marketing professionals network. I did a search for that, and then I thought, right, I want to narrow this down because I think there's like 88,000 people in this group, and it just shows it to me in a search result, a standard search result format here. So I narrowed it down to people who are based in the Netherlands. I put in a keyword here. I want to look for people who are managers, and then I also said, well, I only want to look at second-degree connections. I'm actually not a member of this group currently, but I can see the population of this group. And once again here, I can click on my Dux-Soup icon. Again, I would probably scan this list here. Now, I did this earlier. So what I've actually done here is I scanned this list. I then went and downloaded my data. And what that then means is I can now run my chosen Dux-Soup activity against that scan result. So we've got two ways of doing this, and I'll just give you a sneak preview into the new stuff that we're seeing on Turbo now. So the normal way to do that would be go down here and we go to revisit data, and here, hopefully under my list here, I should have, there we are, marketing professionals, managers, Netherlands. That's my scan from earlier. There's 160 odd lines here, I think, something like that, 169 lines. There we go. I can now run my chosen Dux-Soup activity against here. Now, if I'm a pro user, great, I can go in here and I can do my visit and connect, include my connection request message. Or if I'm a turbo user, I can hit the enroll profiles button here, click up there, and then I can enroll people into my campaign. There we go. I have to wait for the green prompt to appear, and then I'm going to get my thing here, and then I've got here my group campaign for digital marketing, for example. Jump ahead a little bit here now. The refinement we've now seen in the Dux dash, I'm going to click on my Dux-Soup icon. I'm going to go down to my Dux dash here. And what we'll see here now is we're going to see a new option where we can just upload a file of data into our campaign. So if I go across to the funnel flow here, we see here we've got a new button, enroll from file. Great, so all I can need to do now is I hit enroll from file, and all you need in your file is the LinkedIn URL. You don't need all of the stuff that you have in the revisit data file. So as long as I've got my, here we are, we've got my marketing pros here, marketing professionals. I'm going to open that file. There we are, there's 169 profiles ready to enroll. Which campaign do I want to put them in? Well, let's go down here. I've got here a group campaign for digital marketing. If I now press enroll there, that's now going to enroll all 169 people into my digital marketing professionals campaign. Now, I've built that campaign earlier today in order to demonstrate this, and I'll show you the contents of that campaign in a second. But what I'm trying to do here is join up how I found people with the messaging that I'm building, and then just putting them into the campaign. And now I'm just going to be able to leave Dux-Soup to go and carry out the activities. I've just enrolled 169 people. There we are. Oh, it's scheduled 125, probably because I've already put some of them into a campaign already. So we'll close that. Let's go back to my Dux-Soup campaigns here. And if I look here at my group campaign for digital marketing, we'll see here, oh, there you go, reject profiles from other campaigns. I've already put them into another campaign, so it's skipped some of them. So here we are. I've actually got a very simple connection request here. I'm starting my campaign with a follow activity. 4 days later, I'm sending a connection request. Because I'm focusing on people in the Netherlands, I've decided to do this campaign in Dutch. And then I've got a follow-up message, etc., etc. Now that's just an example what you can do there. I'm just putting in here, hey, I noticed that you're a member of the digital marketing professionals group on LinkedIn, and I'm looking to grow my network with like-minded people here in the Netherlands. That's as simple as that. And when I did this earlier this year with this one here, this growth hacking test one, let's go back to my funnel flow. This shows you exactly how I did with this. Let me find it. There we go, growth hacking test. If we look and see the performance of this is just reaching out to people who I'm a member of a group with, mutual membership of groups with. We can see here I enrolled, I think, 1,200 people. We'll just wait for this to update, which it will do in a second. 1,200 people, 1,100 invites or so, and there we are, 525 people accepted. And that was my connection request. I see you've also got an interest in growth hacking. Could be good to be mutually beneficial to be connected. Excuse me. But that's the kind of campaign that you can really easily run, targeting people with a certain interest in a group. Very straightforward to do, very easy to set up, and then build your follow-up messages accordingly. You can do the same with Pro. You would just need to then do visit and connect with your connection request message. Let's just show you that very quickly. Again, if we go into our Dux-Soup options here, we would enable this top one here. We would put in our connection request message accordingly there, and then reach out with visit and connect rather than doing the enrollment there. Not forgetting the Pro users, of course, that are out there. So that's groups, and that's scanning profiles. So that's hopefully gives you a little bit of an idea as to what we can do there. And what we're going to see now is a little bit of a repetition in some ways with some other different types of lists. So content engagement. Find articles in your newsfeed relevant to your target audience. Maybe see who's reacted to your own posts, or maybe your competitors' content. And then we can use Dux-Soup to target those people, making your outreach relevant to that list. Once again, we just run your chosen Dux-Soup activity against that list. So what we need to do now is we need to go and find an article. Now, we go to our LinkedIn homepage here. You would see articles appearing in your newsfeed, etc., etc. If we scroll down here far enough, we'll find here this one. Yeah, this was from Gaurav. Gaurav's presented a webinar for us in the past. So we can see here that there's 43 people have reacted to this particular post. I can now, from this page here, I can run my Dux-Soup actions from here. Again, we wait for the Dux-Soup icon to turn green. There we go, right on cue this time. And now I could do this directly from here. I could do visit and connect, or I could do enroll. But my preferred way of working here is, once again, to scan the profiles and then download the data. The reason for that is because you can then edit the list. You can go through that list in your spreadsheets and delete people who maybe you don't want in there. For example, this list, I wouldn't want to put Gurav into there. I'd take him out the list because he's a first degree connection. So this list here is a mixture of mostly second and third degree connections. But I would scan this list, I would edit that list, and then I would target people accordingly. So earlier today, exactly the same as with the other one, I scanned a list of prospects who'd reacted to a post about, I think it was AI in recruitment. So I built a campaign around that. Let's have a look. Here we'll go into here, AI technology, post reaction. There we are. So I've got, again, a very straightforward campaign here. I spotted that you appreciated our recent post about AI in lead gen activities. If you'd like to see similar content or indeed provide some feedback on the article, and let us know what you're interested in, please connect. Very simple, straightforward, engaging connection request there. And then again, yeah, I've got the option there to do to use the revisit button. Go down here and hit the revisit data button. We'll do that one this time. We'll go in here, we'll hit the revisit data button, and let's upload our list there. Here we are. It was that one, I think. There we go. So here we go. I've got the people who reacted to that particular post. There's 45 people here. When the icon turns green in a second, I can then do my enrollment from here and put them into that campaign. Alternatively, I got through the Dux Dash, I can upload this file into my campaign and queue up all those activities accordingly. So that's post reactions, and it's incredibly important. If you can gather that information and see what your competitors are publishing, what your targets are interested in, it's a very, very useful way of being able to do that. When you scan the list as well, you get a bit of information about people, where they're based, get a little bit of job title information, so you can filter those lists accordingly as well, make sure you are targeting the right sorts of people. Number 3, the last one, events. So event attendees are a fantastic way of finding people who have a certain need or interest, or facing a certain challenge. You register for an event if you've got a certain interest, or you're trying to solve a problem and you're trying to find out a solution to it. So when you register for an event, you can see who else is attending, and if you're running an event, of course, you can see the list of attendees. You can then filter accordingly, and once again run your chosen Dux-Soup activity against that list. And to show you how that looks, I registered for an event earlier today. Let's go in here. I think it was this one. It's this one here. I can't remember what it's called. There we are. How will Gen AI change the future of recruitment? And we can see here there are 398 attendees here. And it's tomorrow, apparently. There we go. So I can click on that link there, and I can see here the 399 people who are registered for this particular event. Now I can search here in regular LinkedIn, which is great. I can still also search this one in Sales Navigator. I can use the Sales Navigator filters then to filter that down, I believe. Maybe I can't with events. It looks like I can only do that here. But then I can also add, for example, maybe locations. So maybe I'm only interested in people who are based in the UK, perhaps. Maybe I've got a specific focus on a geographical area. I can focus on maybe second and third degree connections. You can narrow down your prospect list accordingly, depending on what you require here. You've got all of the usual filters here. And once you've done that, you can either, of course, run Dux-Soup directly from this list when the icon turns green, or once again, and this is always my preferred way of doing things, is scan it, review that list, review that scanned list, and then edit it and then upload that list. You have more control that way. It's putting that extra effort in up front, which means that the end result will be better. You'll get a better percentage of acceptance. So those are the 3 things that I wanted to mention with regards finding prospects. We've got, let's go back here, we've got groups. Make use of the group functionality in LinkedIn, huge resource of information. We've got content engagement, people who like to post, people who've loved to post. You can narrow it down to how you want and filter it accordingly. And then also the events. This is people who are facing actual issues now in real time. They're not going to change their profile to say they're facing a certain problem, but they will register for an event. So make use of those. Once you've got your list defined, you can run Dux-Soup directly from there, Pro or Turbo. My preference, as I just said now, is to scan the list, check it, edit it, and then run Dux-Soup against that edited list. And we'll go through that perhaps if we get some questions about that again. Remember, it's being recorded, so you can always watch it back in glorious Technicolor. You have more control when you do that scanning, because you can you can combine lists. Maybe you've got 3 or 4 different articles, and maybe you're wanting to combine those into one campaign. You scan the list, you download the CSV file, you check the contents, and then use the revisit function in Dux-Soup or the new enroll from file in the Dux Dash, as we showed you earlier. In your outreach, now this is of absolute paramount importance, whatever you're doing on LinkedIn, make sure your landing page is up to date and appropriate, i.e. your LinkedIn profile. It's your advert to the world. So many people I speak to forget about this. You need to make sure that has engaging, interesting content on there. Otherwise, people will just ignore your message. Whenever I get a connection request from somebody, the first thing I do is I visit their profile to see where they're based, how they found me, who they work for, what they do. Then I will make a decision as to whether I want to accept that connection request. I suspect 95% of you are the same. You visit a profile before you accept. There are some people who accept connection requests just because they get them. But I can't reiterate this enough. Your landing page is your advert. It's your free advert to the world. Make sure it's up to date, it's relevant, and it's got enough engaging content on there that people will want to be connected to you. Make your messaging outreach relevant to your audience. When I looked at those campaigns earlier, I built 3 campaigns, one for the groups, one for the event, and one for the post reactions. Tailor your messaging according to your audience. Now, there are some people who don't like writing connection requests, and to be honest, what I tend to see is people who not writing a connection request works better for more senior people. If you've got a massive network already, and sometimes it isn't necessary to write a connection request. Their profile sells itself effectively. So just think about that when you're doing your messaging. But make use, if you've got Dux-Soup Turbo, make use of the automated follow-ups depending on what information you're wanting to get across. If you've got Dux-Soup Pro, you need to work in a slightly more methodical way, so you know what actions you're carrying out, whether that's connection requests or reaching out to first degree connections with some sort of a follow-up message or some sort of a campaign message. We've talked about this before in several other webinars. Make use of Dux-Soup tags because it gives you traceability and control. Make sure you're not repeatedly reaching out to the same people. So think of all these things, but the one thing I cannot reiterate enough is your profile. Spend time on it, spend time on your profile, and make sure you are familiar enough with the search criteria and the search functionalities of LinkedIn that you maximize those to your benefit. I mentioned earlier that the mutual connection, the mutual group membership, I was able to achieve a 45 to 50% acceptance rate. I was speaking to a user of Dux-Soup in the recent past who's used the event methodology, and they were able to achieve a 55 to 60% acceptance rate by building appropriate content around an event. It wasn't an event that they'd hosted, it wasn't an event that they'd run, but they were able to then tailor their content and their connection request according to that population. So these sorts of numbers are possible, but you have to put the work in up front. We'll talk about the Dux Dash features now. We've touched on some of them already. We can do the direct enroll from a campaign. We've improved the search options for both the queued activity and the activity log. And there are some further options available in the funnel flow, which have been available for a week or two, but you might not have spotted them. So let's just go and have a look at those a second. So we go into our Dux Dash here. We go to our funnel flow. We can do the enroll from file. We can just upload our file here and enroll directly from there. Very, very straightforward. You select whichever campaign it is you're wanting to put people into. Very, very straightforward. With regards to the funnel flow as well here, you'll see here, let's just go into this particular bit of data because then you can see here. We can see now that our options here have changed. We used to just have, I think it was reflow, qualify in, qualify out. I think those were the 3 options before. Now we've hopefully it's a little bit more succinct and easier to understand. We've got continue to continue the flow of the campaign if somebody's responded. Qualify in, qualify out are still there. We can switch somebody to a different campaign directly from here now. We can just put them straight directly into another campaign, or indeed we can now unenroll somebody from a campaign. So those are some refinements you'll see there under the funnel flow. And then finally, here in your queued activity and in your activity log, you'll notice that now we don't have the, so we say, nonsensical or less than easy to understand URLs of Sales Navigator or whatever. We're now able to put better information here under the queued activity in the activity log to see who it is that we're actually doing activities against. Now, this is only giving me this information because it's not visited those people yet. I've got these enrollments queued up for these people I just chucked into that campaign. Currently, I've got the robot on pause so that it wasn't going to interrupt me during the webinar. But these are the enrollments that I did against that campaign just now, the group campaign digital marketing. So we can now have under our activity log, it's much more searchable. So if we're going in here and we want to do a search against a name, for example, it's a much more efficient way of searching. It looks against the name and it looks against the URLs of the LinkedIn page as well. So there we go. We then have a much better way of being able to search. So some of these refinements hopefully will help you in your use of Dux-Soup. Let's head back to the slides. I think that's everything I was going to present for now. So do we have any questions, Joe?
Ready for me to pop up? Hi.
Yes,
I've got a couple of questions. I've got a couple of questions, which is around what's the best way of finding events or finding groups that are useful?
I'll just use the keyword search. Yeah, I mean, if you let's go back into here. So for example, yeah, let's go here. Just use the keyword search. So if there's a certain topic, so I don't know, maybe you want to put in, I don't know, maybe you want to look at something up about chat GPT. You click on you do your search and you look here and you go to events, for example. So what events are there covering chat GPT? If you don't want to look for events, maybe you want to look for groups. You go in there. Once you've joined a group, you can then have a look at the content of group, monitor it, see if it's an active group, see if it's a dormant. You can see the number of members here. You can see how many people are in those groups. The other thing is you've got Sales Navigator. You can see the population of a group without having to be a member, so that gives you that option as well. But the best thing to do is just to use the keyword search in regular LinkedIn and then just define whether you're looking for groups or events or whatever it may be.
Perfect, thank you very much. Right, we have a few questions. So this is from Daphne. Why do you use revisit and upload the list you downloaded after scanning instead of directly enrolling in the campaign from the Sales Navigator results?
Just so that I can edit the list. There may be people on that list that I want to go through and have a check. So if we go, let me see if I can find a list that I've got, for example. Bear with me 1 second. It's over here somewhere. There we go. So I've got here a list of people. This is a list that I scanned earlier. You can see here I scanned this earlier today. There we are, 2:15. This is a list I think I scanned in Sales Navigator. This is the marketing list. I could go through this list and I could take people out. For example, I could look through maybe the job titles. Maybe I'd want to look at the company name and just maybe there are some companies that I don't want to reach out to. It gives the opportunity to go in, go through it. Is everybody in here valid? You can sense check it, edit the people, maybe even combine lists. You can maybe you've got multiple sources that you're looking at. So that's the reason that I would do that. It gives you better control. There are some people who like to run these things directly from the LinkedIn page, but then you're always beholden to the data that LinkedIn's presenting for you. It's my preferred way of working. It does involve that extra step, but it gives you that extra control to make sure you're not reaching out to people that you don't want to.
Perfect. I think that is very straightforward. Now here we go. This is from Fabiana. Enrolling from the file could be a file that could enrolling come from a file that I do myself, or should the file be downloaded from Dux-Soup?
It can come from yourself, and all it needs to contain is the LinkedIn URLs. It needs to be a CSV file, contains the LinkedIn URLs. That's all it is. it's a refinement from the old revisit data file where you needed profile URL, first name, last name. You only need the URL now. So we're looking to refine those sorts of things, make them streamlined and more straightforward. I only saw that for the first time earlier today, so it's a really good refinement, I think. So yeah, hopefully that's pretty straightforward. And yeah, it will automatically, you know, like I had there, it skipped people who I had already previously enrolled into another campaign. So out of the 160 odd, it only enrolled 125. So yeah, very quickly Dux-Soup can easily go in and can do that for you and follow the rules that you've set up. And all you need is that LinkedIn URL. And it can be a Sales Navigator URL as well. So there is that possibility as well.
Okay, and in terms of editing that list after you've scanned profiles, I think we just saw you take that over, edit it on your spreadsheet and then upload it back in.
Just save it again as a CSV file. So it will recognize a scan file, it will recognize a visit file, and it also recognize a file of just URLs.
Great. So Fabiana, there you go, asked and answered. Can Dux-Soup integrate ClickUp CRM or via Zapier to ClickUp?
Yes, that's an easy one. Yeah, no, I have built a Zapier integration with ClickUp in the past. It's a while ago now. But yeah, what we did was in ClickUp, we created a couple of new fields, one for the LinkedIn URL and one for the LinkedIn ID. And we built an integration with Zapier for a user somewhere near New York, I think she was based. I might have to check on that one. Yeah, we created those two new fields, and then we were able to actually even have our messages, our LinkedIn messages appearing in ClickUp as well. I'll tell you what we can do. Let me find, for example.
Sounds like Christian might be interested in that, so it might be worth.
What I would recommend is looking at this article here.
Okay.
Transferring your messages to your CRM. This one I think covers, it doesn't cover ClickUp, but it covers, it might be Salesforce, but the theory is exactly the same. So yeah, if it's possible that we can send that URL, copy this, I'll stick it in the chat.
You're copying it in, fabulous. So
there you go. That would be the one I would refer to. Is that Christian? Yeah.
Yeah, that was Christian. Yeah.
So that is, yes, it is absolutely possible, and we have done it. And we're always looking to see, you know, what further possibilities there are as well. It's a while since I've looked at ClickUp, but we have done it in the past, yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's answer that one. How should we use Dux-Soup tags? Now, I did send in the chat, I have sent a link out to how to tag and untag profiles. This is Tony. Tony, if you have a look in the chat, I don't know if you want to pick up on that as well, Giles, but yeah, if you have a look in the chat, Tony, there's a nice article on there.
Yeah, it depends if Tony's a pro user or a turbo user, to be honest. I'm not sure, but a couple of things of note. I would always recommend, if you're a turbo user, I would always recommend using this tag profiles with ID when enrolling. So for example, you then, again, everybody who I enrolled in this campaign would get this tag. You can then find them because you've got the tag tool here, and you can go and find them and search for people who you put into that campaign. It gives you traceability. It also gives you the possibility, you know, to see who's gone into which campaign, etc., etc. If you're a pro user, whatever action you're doing, I would always make sure that you are making use of this option here, the tag profiles, with maybe a number of different things. In this case, I was looking at an event, a specific event, so you'd probably tag it with an event name and maybe the location, and maybe you want to put an industry in here. You put tags in automatically during whatever action you're carrying out. So if you're reaching out and sending out connection requests, you might want to do that. You want to do that. Maybe you want to put in, I don't know, something like that, depending on what the topic was. Yeah, and then Dux-Soup will automatically add tags to those profiles as you carry out that action. It also then gives you the possibility to skip people if you've previously tagged them. So that's another benefit there of tagging. So yeah, there are lots of benefits of tagging, and then you've also got then the search by tag function here. It looks slightly different in Pro compared to Turbo, but effectively it allows you to run actions from that search by tag result as well. So there's a lot of benefits to tagging, and I suspect that the link that that Joe has already shared will cover most of that.
Yeah, I hope so. Thanks for that question, Tony. Let me have another look. Here's a question from Michael. I'm not sure whether you will be able to help on this one, but let's try. I run a recruiting business and have premium, but don't like LinkedIn Recruiter. So I use my own CRM. Do you know if other recruiters are using Sales Navigator or premium?
Yes, I do.
Which one? Do you know?
There are many recruiters I know who are turned off from Recruiter purely because of the expense. It's quite an investment. I know a lot of recruiters who find Sales Navigator is perfectly suitable for their requirements. I'm not familiar with the entire product set of, or the entire feature set of Recruiter, other than the fact you can view profiles without people seeing, and you can build projects, etc., etc. And you can see people who are open to work very easily. Yeah, to be honest, the people I speak to, most of the people I speak to who work in recruitment, find the cost of Recruiter extreme, shall we say. I'm trying to be diplomatic here. And yes, they very successfully use either a premium or a Sales Navigator account in order to achieve the same goals.
Okay. Thanks for that one. That was for Michael. Hi there, I'm a new user. This is from Vikash. I'm just trying my second campaign. I've enrolled 100 people, but Dux seems to have stuck at that stage, having only invited only 3. Is there something I should be doing?
Yes, please email the address that you see on the screen. You need to make sure that LinkedIn, sorry, make sure that Chrome is open. Make sure everything's up to date. Those will be the checks that the support will ask you to do. Is Chrome taking the latest updates? Is the planner active? Is Chrome open? Do not minimize Chrome to the bottom of the screen, because Dux-Soup will not be able to carry out those actions. And yeah, please ping a message to our support team if it's not doing anything, and hopefully they can get to the bottom of that as quickly as possible.
Thanks for that. About the activity log, this is from Fabiana. How can I see the pending actions?
So that's under your queued activity. So let's go back. So we see here under our Dux dash, your pending actions is effectively your queued activity. So all of these enrollments here are pending for me because I've got it just turned off at the moment. So I've got 125 pending enrollments queued up here. That's where your queued activity is. You can filter it by campaign and by action. So these are all the things that you'll see that will get executed in the future. You may see some follow-ups here that haven't been executed, of course, which you think, why haven't they been executed? That's usually people who've responded, and that campaign is effectively on pause, on hold effectively, because people have responded, and you then need to decide what action is going to happen next. Yeah, just go into your queued activity, and that's everything that's pending.
Great, thank you. Will it be possible to get a recording? Yes, it will. It will be sent to you. That's to Peter.
You will receive the recording whether you want it or not.
From Hendrik, what's the best way on a sale purpose to lead my leads to my e-commerce store?
Try that one again, Joe. Sorry, you broke up partway
through. What's the best way to get my leads to go to my e-commerce store, I think is the question. And
okay.
in particular,
so you're thinking the complete strategy.
Actually, what's the best and most successful text that can be used to attracting potential clients?
That's opening a can of worms, and would probably be an entire webinar series all of its own. We have a look at our blog posts. We've got some suggested campaign methodologies in there, but not one size fits all. Every market is different, every industry is different, every geographical region is different. Depending on what you're selling and to whom, different markets will respond differently to different things. What you want to do is get invitations out to people and get them to visit your LinkedIn page. If they're engaged by your LinkedIn page, they will hopefully discover you further. And if you have Dux-Soup Turbo, you can send out automatic follow-up messages to point them towards your portal, wherever it may be. So yeah, make use of all of those sorts of things, that's that functionality, to try and get people to go there. You know, it's a case of making sure, you know, the other thing to do is if you post, if you create posts in LinkedIn and get people to engage with that, and you can have your link to your portal from there as well. That's another way to do it and get more traffic going that way. The more followers you've got, the more people have connected to you. In other words, the more people will see that post, the more impressions you'll get, the more chance you've got of people going there, as long as people finding it engaging. It has to be engaging, otherwise people will just turn off from it.
Hendrik said thanks.
You're welcome.
From, I think this is Ojasvi, I apologize with my pronunciation. When I'm trying to scan a profile, I'm unable to download the data. Do you know where this is? Also, is it possible when you visit a profile?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things here. I think it might be Ojasvi. I think I've spoken to her before. Let me have a look. So there's a couple of things to check. Go to your Dux-Soup options and make sure that here under the browser section you are recording profile data. It's one thing to make sure. That way all visit data will be cached within your browser. And if you're having trouble downloading the data, we go here, you need to have the icon turn green. So if you go see here, I don't have the option to download my data here where the icon's not green. If I go to a LinkedIn search result, the icon's turned green, I can now download my data. If it's taking a long time to download, it could be because you've got maybe thousands of profiles recorded, and it could be that that's a very large file and you just need to be patient, I'm afraid. I would recommend clearing out that data reasonably often. I personally wouldn't want more than maybe 5,000 or 6,000 lines there. And you can clear your data just by hitting the clear data button there. It doesn't remove your Dux-Soup history. It doesn't do that. It just purely clears out whatever's been cached here. So you can see here, I've got 171 profiles recorded and 40 visits today. That's what's cached. If I was to now clear, that would get rid of that 171 profiles that I've recorded today. So make sure you've got your record profile data option enabled, and then always make sure you wait for the icon to turn green, and then you should be able to download. It's a big file, you just have to wait because it's going to be a big file.
Okay, that's great. Here's another one from Tony, which I think's a really good question. Is there a limit to how many campaigns can be set up? And also, when someone is rolled on a campaign, will they stay with that campaign even if you swap to a different one?
No, Dux-Soup will take them to answer the questions in reverse order. Once you put them into a new campaign, the new campaign takes over. So we'll always look at the most recently enrolled campaign as to what activities will get queued up. You can have as many campaigns running as you like. It's just purely a case of how many people you're putting into each campaign, how much you're queuing up, and Dux-Soup will just execute things according to chronology. So if you've got maybe 10 campaigns and you enroll 25 people into each campaign, that's 250 people to get through, and it depends then upon your throttling. And I'm not going to go there with throttling this week because we did an entire webinar about that one last time, 2 weeks ago. So yeah, you can have as many campaigns running as you want. It's just up to you as to how many people you enroll as you go, depending on what the requirements are. Up to 12 steps in a campaign as well. Yeah, I was speaking to somebody recently who had nearly 60 campaigns. They weren't all active at once, but they had a huge number of campaigns running. So
keep going and going. Hendrik, I will send you the link in a minute. Just bear with me. Can you have a team account in Dux-Soup? Yes, you can. If you go onto the purchase plan page.
we can go there now.
Go there now.
Here, we can go to the Dux-Soup homepage. Here at the top, we see where it says pricing, and then you select the team option here, and then you can choose whether you have a team monthly or annual accordingly. And then what that enables is for you to share those your campaigns across your team. So we go back here and we go to our drip campaigns. You would then be able to define campaigns as a team campaign if required, which then becomes available across your team. As well as that, you also then have a team funnel, so you can see the performance of those campaigns across your team. It also prevents duplicated outreach. So if you're enrolled, you won't be enrolling. If you have a team campaign, you can't enroll the same prospects into the same campaigns across your team.
Great. We're starting to get near the end now. That one we've looked at. Great presentation. Well done, Giles. Is it possible to integrate with AI? This is from Adese, I think. Is it possible to integrate with AI to create personalized messages based on each profile?
Yes. Yes, it can be done. We've got several users who do that using Zapier and ChatGPT. Basically, what they have there is they've set up a workflow and a series of zaps, which basically involves Dux-Soup auto-visiting a profile, gathering information from that, and then getting ChatGPT or a similar engine to then write a suitable connection request to the individual, which then gets queued up by a Dux-Soup. Yeah, it involved quite a lot of testing and playing around in order to achieve that, but yes, it is possible. It's also possible to get ChatGPT to look at people's responses and then construct a suitable response based upon what they've responded to you. It's a case of how far down that sort of rabbit hole you want to go, if you like. So yes, it is all possible because there are integrations with these platforms on Zapier and Make.
Perfect. So hopefully that answered your question, Adese. What's the frequency, number of connection requests and intervals that can take place? I'm guessing that's to do with the campaign.
That's say the question again, please, Joe. Sorry.
What is the frequency, the number of connection requests and the intervals?
Okay, so frequency of connection requests, that's basically throttling. That's where we did a webinar 2 weeks ago where you can control the speed and the activity that Dux-Soup will carry out for you per day. Speed is of course the hour per hour, and then the daily limits is the numbers here. Please, please, please refer to this blog post before you play around with any of that, and indeed perhaps even last week's or 2 weeks ago. Let's copy that one and chuck it into the chat, because that is absolutely if you're going to play around with these settings, you need to understand the risks involved. And if you do get warnings from LinkedIn, I would always recommend slowing down, stopping, waiting, and then reassessing and trying to work out what's triggered a warning from LinkedIn, for example. So that's the throttling and that's the daily limits. With regards the speed of campaigns or the frequency of messaging, it's entirely up to you. Now, the one thing I would not recommend is sending multiple follow-up messages to individuals inside a week. I was speaking to some users recently who had 4 or 5 messages going out within a week of somebody accepting a connection request, and they were just being blocked on LinkedIn. They were being, users were just saying, yeah, this is spam. So the thing to do is to make it look like a genuine interaction. And we've got an article in the blog post, I think, which was published recently by one of our colleagues, by Beth. You can see here we've got a connection request, we've got a follow-up here that goes 4 days later. Now, what I would suggest then is I would then be looking to perhaps add another message in here, perhaps 10 days after that, and I would put in here something like, we connected a couple of weeks ago. They're only going to get this message if they've not replied to you, if they've not answered you. So make it look conversational, make it look genuine, don't make it hardcore salesy, because that will result in people just blocking you or ignoring you.
Okay, good tips. We're nearly done now.
They're still coming in, are they?
No, there's just a couple left. What's the best, hang on. What's the best customer recruitment experience? Run campaigns for people to connect with you and then hope they engage with your posts, or run campaigns and directly pitch to them?
Well, a campaign would involved a connection request anyway. I'm not quite as sure I understand the context.
I suspect, so this is from David. I think he's trying to work out whether to run campaigns for people to connect with you and then hope they engage with your post, or run campaigns directly pitched to them. David, I don't think I'm entirely sure whether you're asking whether you need to be doing targeted campaigns to people you're already connected with and hoping to bring them across the line.
I'll tell you what,
or
David.
Whether you're trying to connect with people that you haven't yet connected with.
Tell you what, David, if you're not already connected to me, ping me a connection request on LinkedIn. That's my page. Send me a connection request on LinkedIn, and yeah, I'll try and get to the bottom of the question, and we'll have a discussion that way. I think that's probably the easiest way to do that one. Should we move on then, Jo?
Yeah, I think we can do.
Cool.
I'm
going to do this one.
With you, yeah.
So just in case anybody's not aware, next Tuesday, myself and Adam, also from the marketing team, we're going to be doing a webinar with Mark Mawhinney, who runs Natural Born Coaches, which hopefully Jo is going to put the link into the chat box now, where you can see that information. We're going to be talking about all things Dux, how you can use it. We're looking at a particular Mark's Natural Born Coaching community. They've got a very, very active Facebook group, and he's got a website as well. We did a podcast for him last week, and we're going to be doing a series of Facebook Live events in the coming week in the lead up to the webinar as well. That's myself, Adam, and the founder of Dux-Soup, Will. So all of that information you can find on the website, and I think Jo is sharing the appropriate links as I speak, hopefully.
I will be doing in 1 second. I'm trying to find it. I think it's been sent to me in WhatsApp, so I'm just moving things around. So just bear with me while I try. Here we go. Let me just ping that over to myself on an email, and then I can paste it in for everybody. At least you all know it's live now, hey?
Indeed.
Right, that's zooming its way over here.
And what I'll do is I'll stick the links in for Natural Born Coaches and the Facebook things while you do the next slide. Yeah,
I'll do the next slide, and hopefully that link will come through in the meantime. Hang on 1 second, because it has done. Here we go.
See, well, there's the Natural Coaches one.
So let me just write this. Here's the link for the Natural Born Coaches webinar with Dux-Soup.
Seamless, Jo, absolutely seamless.
Nothing like a bit of multitasking, hey, which then segues nicely into the fact that we have this wonderful looking gentleman here, David Duccini, joining us in 2 weeks' time. So his business focuses on raising investment, and David's ability to turn social capital into financial capital piqued our interest earlier this year when he shared his success story with us for converting 20 high quality leads every day. So we're really thrilled that he's agreed to share his outreach strategy with our audience and take questions during the live session as well. So he will be with us in 2 weeks' time. David, he is the founder of a company called Silicon Prairie, and they look at kind of crowdfunding, crowd building, but arguably he uses Dux-Soup to manage his LinkedIn outreach to generate those connections, so that they will invest in his company, his client's company, and the story is really interesting. Let me also share, as a little forerunner to that, doing a bit more multitasking, his success story, so you can read a little bit about it in advance if you like. There we go. So that's
just, I spoke to David, I think 2 or maybe 3 years ago, first of all, when he started using Dux-Soup, but it's a really interesting story, the whole how it's all come together over the time and how it's matured his process.
So I'm also going to post in there the registration link for you all. Registration for October
Which will
the
be
7th.
available on the usual place very shortly, if not already.
Yeah, so it's on the website already anyway, but if any of you want to click it now before you get waylaid, then the session's there ready for you to click on and register for before we close today's session. What else is on the screen? Yeah, caps. So please, a couple of you have asked me for the link during this session, so you can see the link down there. Yeah, I've also got my caps over there, look, on the screen. So we can have blue or yellow, looking rather fetching there, Giles, in your yellow one.
Much better, it hides part of my face, so it's probably better for everybody.
So we, you know, as I said in the beginning, it's great to have the reviews. It's really nice for new prospects to read reviews from existing users. So, you know, we always like having your reviews, and why not get rewarded for it? You know, you may as well have a cap. The weather's getting worse in certain countries, so keep the rain off. And if you do have any reason to ping Giles a call, ping Giles a LinkedIn message, and he says, do you know what, we need a longer session, he might head towards the booster session or the technical session on our services page, so that you can book a bit more time in with Giles himself. So if you go onto our services pages, you'll be able to find how to book those sessions in advance. Indeed. And I think that's it for today. All that is left to do. So thank you, Giles.
You're welcome.
You've shared lots of amazing facts and not one bit of fiction. So that's all good. And thanks, users, for joining us and sending all your questions our way as normal. And hopefully we'll see you all again in 2 weeks' time.
Thanks, everyone. Speak again soon.
Bye.